Welcome to the County Manager's Report. I'm Lloyd Higuera. With me is Douglas County Manager Steve Mokrahysky. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks, Lloyd. Great to be here. How are you?
I'm well, and we're very close to Thanksgiving, but you today were at the Senior Center serving Thanksgiving lunch.
Thanksgiving dinner, for the seniors at our Senior Center. It will be one of the last Thanksgiving meals at the old Senior Center, what will soon be the old Senior Center, as we construct our new 83,000 square foot community and senior center at Herbig Park. So we're excited. Not sure if it'll be done by next Thanksgiving, but hopefully the Thanksgiving after that we'll be ready to move in and serve people there. Just a great group of seniors. We had about 165 folks who joined us. The room was packed and standing room only, if you will. So we served the food to everybody, and then I stood and had a couple bites before coming over here. So
okay. And I would imagine we'll see some growth at the Senior Center when the new one opens.
Right, and actually the senior portion of the community and future community and senior facility will hold about 300 people seated. And so we had about 160, 165 there today. And so it's great that we're going to now, and we're at capacity. There were some seniors who were in one of the mobile buildings outside of the existing current senior center. So when we have that new facility built, we'll be able to have everyone in one room and really a first-class experience for the seniors in our community, as well as young people and families.
Sounds great. Okay, well, let's get to the November 21st meeting of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. They met up at Lake Tahoe. And on that agenda, commissioners funded from the general fund and the social services fund $163,750 in community grants. And that money is the money that's left over from last year's budget, right?
Right, and what happens is typically our Board of Commissioners every year they allocate a certain amount of money towards nonprofit community-based organizations that do really good work here. And so this money was money that we had identified from a previous year's budget. We put it in our budget this year as a line item. We received around $228,000 in requests for grant funding, and we had 163 to allocate. So the first decision the board had to make was, did they want to cover all of those, or were they going to stick within the budget? The board stayed within the budget that was allocated. So they had to make some cuts to what people had asked for. So there were some reductions. Some organizations asked for increases, and others asked, and there were some new agencies that asked for funding. They were able to provide funding for all the agencies that requested it at various levels, but groups like Austin's House, the Boys and Girls Club of Carson Valley, Boy Scouts of America, Carson Valley Arts Council, where we filmed this show, the Carson Valley Reforestation Beautification Foundation, Douglas Animal Welfare Group, the Douglas County Backpack Buddies Consortium, the Carson Valley Pops Orchestra, Nevada Tahoe Conservation District, Suicide Prevention Network, Tahoe Douglas Senior Center, the Friends of Dangberg Home Ranch, Douglas Center for Hope and Healing, Tahoe Youth and Family Services, and Young at Heart Senior Citizens Club. Young at Heart is, of course, our group of seniors who raise money and have contributed a lot to the community center and do other good things in the community. As well as the Family Support Council, a partnership of community resources and community counseling centers. So all of those organizations received funding from Douglas County this year. Not large. It ranged anywhere from $2,000 to $19,000. So it's not huge amounts of money for each of these organizations, but again, helps them complete their mission in serving various populations and people in need in our community.
I'm sure it's something that those groups all look forward to receiving every year, though.
They do, and these are funds that they're able to use then to augment to provide new services, to reach out and do things that they hadn't already. And these agencies, along with governments and private sector entities, have all been in the position of having to cut their budgets. So this little amount of money from the county is really helpful in going back and serving the people in our community who are in need.
Okay. Well, also at the meeting, a resolution was approved by commissioners establishing interim monthly water rates for the Sierra Country Estates water system. That's a water system recently acquired by Douglas County.
Right, and the board's directive on the Sierra Country water system rates has been that the ratepayers pay for the full cost of service. So there's not there have been some interfund loans to help that system get up to speed, but they'll all be paid back by the ratepayers. So these rates are rather hefty. They're in they're several $100s per month, and then it also includes they're going to be metered systems, so there will be a metering charge on top of that. So the Sierra Country Estates water rates, which, as you said, is a newly acquired previously a private water system that Douglas County recently acquired, it now has the highest water rates of any entity that Douglas County is responsible for providing. 17 customers, so a really small customer base, and some challenges in terms of the infrastructure needed to bring that up to speed. So we're working collaboratively with the residents there in setting the water rates, dealing with the investments that need to be made in those systems, and moving forward to make sure that we manage this water system in a responsible fashion.
Well, since you only have 17 folks using water on that system, and it probably is not likely to grow, will those rates always be high rates there?
I think, well, first of all, the other thing to understand is this is an interim water rate. So this is not what the permanent longer-term rate is going to be. The board has adopted about an 8-month water rate here because this system is new to us. So we need to charge a rate to start recovering some of the costs that are now our obligation to provide the service for. So that's what this interim water rate is. We're going to have to come back in the course of the next year as we gather more information about the actual consumption of water from these properties so that we can develop a rate that is more reflective of what the actual usage is, as well as what we determine to be the actual capital needs and system reinvestment or depreciation savings for future capital investment for that system. So we've still got a lot of work to do on the Sierra Country Estates water system, and I think it's likely that unless there's some grant funding or some other funding source that can assist with these water rates, that if anything, the rates are probably going to grow at least over the course of the next few years.
Okay. So we'll be hearing a lot more about that, I'm sure.
We will be talking more about Sierra Country water system, yes.
Okay. Another item on that November 21st agenda, commissioners heard presentations from 5 applicants for community development block grants, and that's quite a few applications this year.
It is, and every year the Federal Housing and Urban Development Department goes forward with a community development block grant program. They provide federal money to the states, and then local communities, and Douglas County is one, can apply to the state for funding from those programs. And the way that it works is Douglas County allows any organization to come forward and do an application for one of these community development block grants. We had 5 agencies that came forward. The town of Gardnerville, the Eagle gas station was a project there. The East Fork Fire and Paramedic Districts applied for an ambulance. The Douglas County Community Services Foundation applied for funds for the new community and senior center facilities and equipping of that building. The Nevada Rural Counties RSVP program, which provides respite care to seniors in the region, applied, as well as Suicide Prevention Network. So all of these entities have submitted applications, and they've come forward and they made their case at the board meeting. At the next meeting on December 5th, the board will then prioritize these 5 projects. And what we do is the board picks the top 2 based both on need and based on their ability to meet the criteria set by the feds and the state. Because, of course, while these are all worthy projects, we want to make sure that we're putting forward the projects to the state that have the greatest likelihood of being funded with CDBG funds. So that's the process. So that December 5th meeting, the board will prioritize. They'll take the top 2. They'll rank those top 2, and then we'll send those on to the state. And that's when the state then reviews and will decide which projects are allocated funding.
Okay. Commissioners also approved an ordinance at the meeting. They adopted the Tahoe Area Plan regulations as modified by the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, and this was the second reading. So does this mean now that that's done with? It's passed,
adopted. Yes,
it's adopted.
We've talked about this in previous sessions here, where we went forward with our area plan. TRPA, through their committee process and their governing board, made some minor modifications with our agreement and consent, as well as some private entities. Edgewood Companies is an example of a group that removed the ability to do a downhill ski or golf course use on the mountain parcel that they have. They removed that. when TRPA adopted it, because our area plan was adopted before those changes were made, we had to come back and do a cleanup. So this is a cleanup. Our area plan is consistent with what was adopted by TRPA, and we will move forward to implementing the South Shore area plan and also developing the second phase of our Douglas County area plan in Lake Tahoe.
Okay, so the area plan, that was only half of the plan, wasn't it? The one that's been approved. There's another component to it.
Yeah, we did the South Shore, which is really from State Line to Kale Drive, and now the section from Kale Drive and the rest of, and then you go east on Kingsbury, and the rest of Douglas County will be incorporated in the second phase of that area plan. The South Shore area plan was developed first because we had spent 2 years doing visioning with stakeholders, and we were ready to go and put that forward. So we didn't want to unnecessarily delay that area, the casino core, the State Line area, which are really critical properties that are anxious to move forward with redevelopment, environmental improvement, and economic investments. While we were doing everything else, we decided to separate those two. Ultimately, we will have 2 area plans, and we'll move forward to implement those area plans under the regional plan update that TRPA has recently approved.
But the first plan was strictly, creating something new. So now you have kind of a template to go by. So
We do.
It should be easier.
Yeah, that's right. And Douglas County was the first local jurisdiction in the Tahoe Basin to come forward with an approved area plan and to have it approved by TRPA. We were the template. Now the City of South Lake Tahoe recently, at the November Tahoe Regional Planning Agency Governing Board meeting, had their area plan. They were the second to come forward after us, and they really appreciated that they had Douglas County to follow. I think we paved the way very nicely for others in setting a good example of how you develop an area plan in a responsible way to improve our environment, our economy, and our community at Lake Tahoe.
Well, it's nice to have a roadmap when you're
That's right.
out there.
Yeah.
Okay, also, Commissioners heard an update and a status report on the county's technology services, and there is a new technology director for Douglas County.
There is. We're really pleased to welcome Craig Betts to Douglas County, to a new position that we created through consolidating some other positions and eliminating some things. We're able to have no net increase to create our Chief Technology Officer. It's a really critical position for us to have a technology leader in the organization. We have leaders throughout the organization in finance, in community services, community development, public works, but we've not had a leader in technology. And with all the investments that we're making in improving our processes and eliminating duplication and trying to provide better quality service at a lower cost to taxpayers, we need someone to help lead us in how to responsibly implement technology. So Craig comes with a vast private sector background, working for NV Energy, for Employers, Inc., as a technology leader for those organizations. So we're really excited to welcome Craig to our organization. He shared an update on the technology assessment that we did, and kind of looking at different areas where we can improve how we are utilizing existing technology to its fullest, and how we're being responsive to our customers and meeting all of their needs, and how we're moving forward with the vision for implementing things as simple as timesheets. We still do paper-based timesheets. Everyone fills out, and I sign all these timesheets every other week, and on transparency paper, if you can believe it. And we really need to move to an automated online time and attendance and payroll system. So that's one example. We've done a lot of things. We have a new web-based financial system, and we have a utility billing system that we're looking to upgrade, and a number of things. So still opportunities to improve. I think our website, we've done a really good job utilizing that. We're utilizing social media and other areas to communicate effectively with our residents and visitors. So we're excited to have Craig and move forward with these additional initiatives.
I was wondering, does Douglas County still have a mimeograph machine?
There might be one somewhere laying around. We should, at some point when there's a museum to archive all these things, we'll bring it forward.
Well, I know you've got to have a whole closet full of Selectrics, the old typewriters, the IBMs.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's how I was trained to, to type, was on one of the old typewriters, and there's something sort of romantic about those, the keys clicking and everything, and we're not going to go back to those days.
Now, the new technology director, can you give us kind of a broad-based overview of all the areas he's going to be responsible for? Because there's quite a bit of technology around the county.
There is, and there are three primary divisions in the Technology Services Department. The Geographic Information Services,
Right.
GIS as we call it, and they do spatial mapping of parcels in the county and different things to help us for planning.
Did our signs.
They make signs and do graphics and those kind of things, but it's really spatial mapping to help decision makers, firefighters and law enforcement officers as we're dealing with a wildland fire or trying to track crime in the community, that we can look at where trends are, we can see how a fire is growing, we can map things out, and so that's what GIS does. Really important function. And GIS is, Douglas County is now the sole provider of GIS services to Carson City, Lyon County, and Story County. So we've consolidated that function regionally. And they all pay us for that service, so we generate a revenue by doing that. We pay for all of our costs and then some. And we provide it at a lower cost to those surrounding entities because we've created economies of scale. So it's a really great shared service there. That's the first. The second is communications. And communications are the folks who deal with all of our phones,
Sure.
Who deal with all the public safety communication systems, the radio systems that the law enforcement and fire and dispatch operate on, which are critical, mission critical
Sure.
public safety communication systems. And then finally, the third division is the Information Technology Services. So these are all of our network technicians and programmers who, and help desk technicians who respond to the needs of all of our customers internally, mostly within the organization. If you have a computer problem or a printer problem or whatever your issue might be with the software that the county has, then they'll deal with those issues. So those are the three divisions that Craig is overseeing, and as well as creating a framework for how we utilize technology in the organization to move us forward, improve our processes, reduce duplication and reduce costs, and improve the quality of service we provide.
Well, it sounds like he won't be spending much time at his desk.
No, he's been out and he's meeting with our departments and elected officials, and this is one that I think the general public maybe can't relate to on a day-to-day basis because they don't. This is what we call an internal service department, where they serve the departments and elected offices of the county, like our finance department. But it's really critical because the technology that we utilize, our ability to utilize it in its form and function, is really important into how we touch residents, whether that be utility billing or financial management or a number of, our website or a number of other areas. So we're excited now to have some leadership in that area and look for more improvements.
Okay. Also, commissioners approved a resolution, this one concerning future financing of water projects in Douglas County. Tell us about that.
Sure, and what we're trying to do here is this action was primarily structured around the Sierra Country Estates water system. When we acquired that water system, we've had to pay $100,000 for the acquisition of that system and its assets and obligations and everything. And there's a law that says that if you want those costs for the acquisition of a water system to be reimbursable through a future bond, you have to adopt a resolution as such. So that's what this action was the board adopted a resolution to allow for those costs to be included, to potentially be included in a future bond issuance. It also called out the fact that we are likely to need to be able to bond for around $1 million of costs, potentially, approximately, for the Sierra Country Water System future capital investment, as well as $14 million in improvements for Lake Tahoe water systems. So we kind of packaged all this together. It was not a bond issuance. We didn't go out to the market. The board didn't approve a bond. All it was a resolution that says we may intend in the future to go issue a bond. If the board decides they want to issue bonds for the Lake Tahoe water systems, for Sierra Country Estates water systems, they will have to come forward and go through several public meetings, notices, public appeal processes, and hearings and adoptions of that action in order to go out to the market and issue bonds. So there was a little confusion there from some people that the board was approving a new bond issuance. Nothing could be further from the truth. What they really were doing, again, was signaling the intent to possibly go forward and include these projects in a future bond issuance. And again, it was, I think, a legal requirement if we wanted to include that $100,000 in acquisition costs in the bond issuance, okay, that would then be repaid by ratepayers.
I see.
Did I make that
No, you made
more
it
clear than mud?
Yeah, no, you made it very clear. And as you say, there was a little confusion about that. But it kind of sets the tone for what you may do in the future.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, the reality is we've got $14 million in capital investment
Sure.
for water systems at Lake Tahoe. We have an approximate investment of $1 million for Sierra Country Estates. We don't have the existing resources to pay for that. So you go out and bond, and then you charge the principal and interest for that bond to the ratepayers. So that's the financing structure of how we would make that work. But again, several actions will need to happen before it actually takes place.
Okay. Also, Commissioners heard a presentation from the Nevada Rural Housing Authority on the Home at Last program.
And this is the Nevada Rural Housing Authority provides assistance for individuals and families that are lower income to participate in the home ownership market. Typically what's happened is that local cities, rural counties and cities in the state transfer their unused allocation of private activity bond caps to the Nevada Rural Housing Authority to allow them to capture. There's not a cost to us, but we just transfer the ability to go out in the bond market and issue bonds for that purpose. Over the past several years, they did not ask for that this year. The benefit of that for them in the past has been to pool all those allocations, those private activity bond cap allocations from the rural counties, and they're able to develop a comprehensive program. They call it the Home at Last Down Payment Assistance Program and Mortgage Credit Certificate Tax Savings Program. So again, this helps to provide down payment and tax savings for lower income residents in rural Nevada so that they can participate in the home ownership area.
Now, Nevada Rural Housing Authority, are they building homes or are they just getting people into existing homes?
Yeah, they're doing the financing mechanism for people who are looking to buy a home.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. One more item from the agenda. Commissioners approved a pump station to be constructed in Upaway Estates. And I guess this would be a cost-sharing project, wouldn't it, with some local residents?
That's right. Arthur and Chandra Fontaine own a property up at Lake Tahoe in this area, and what they've agreed to is a 50-50 cost share for the capital costs of this pump station, at which point there are additional lots that are to be built out there. And so the obligation, really the county has an obligation to build this water infrastructure, but the other lots are not improved or built upon. And this one lot is, of course, they're looking for water to serve their property. So they've agreed to split the cost 50-50 with Douglas County. We believe this is a really positive arrangement because half of the cost is now being paid by one property owner, which is ultimately on the county's responsibility to make these improvements. So we think it's a good public-private partnership.
Okay. Well, that pretty well covers the November 21st meeting of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. How about a preview on the December 5th meeting?
We have a presentation from on the Comprehensive Regional Water System report from in an overview of the Bureau of Reclamation plans of study from the Carson Water Subconservancy District. So we have had some discussion more recently about master planning and how do we master plan for all of our water infrastructure. Of course, we have a 20-year master plan in place. We have a 5-year capital improvement plan in Douglas County that we master plan. We review every year. Every 5 years, we do a comprehensive update to that. And our 5-year capital improvement program, we update every year. But there has been more discussion about water system master planning, and so we'll talk more about that with Carson Water Subconservancy District. We have the appointment of Susan Pintar as the County Health Officer. Susan, if you know, Susan Pintar is a pediatric physician in Carson City who also is the health officer for Carson City, does a great job there. So another kind of regional partnership we're pursuing. We're going to have some discussion on December 5th about the Clear Creek Plan Development Project. If you recall, this was approved several years ago, and there's a golf course on site and there's residential properties looking to be built out, and so they've come forward with some minor modifications as well as some some other issues related to water and sewer improvements that are required for that project. So that will be a good discussion, I think, on the Clear Creek project. We'll have the ranking of the CDBG
Okay.
grant that we just talked about, so the board will pick the top 2 that they're going to rank. We will have an appeal of the decision by the Planning Commission related to a special use permit for a bed and breakfast use that was denied by the Planning Commission. There's since been some modifications, as I understand it, so the board will hear that appeal. We'll have a 24-month review of development agreements. We do this every time you have a development agreement. Every 24 months, the board reviews that. So this is our 24-month review of certain, let's see, Montera, Parkhaven Estates, Perry Enterprises, and Riverwood Partners are the 24-month reviews. We're also going to have a discussion about the 100-room ordinance. The 100-room hotel ordinance is required for unrestricted gaming. If you want an unrestricted gaming license, Douglas County requires in its code that you have at least 100 lodging rooms, guest rooms along with that. There's been some discussion by Ham Dogs, a request to repeal that 100-room requirement, and so our board will talk about the merits of repealing or changing that 100-room requirement.
I guess that's being talked about in a lot of other counties too.
I've heard that Carson City, we have not, to my understanding, we've talked to the Carson City officials, they have not approved a change of their requirement, and they are not contemplating it. That's what we've heard, so we will verify that. We're going to have our quarterly financial report. As you know, we do every quarter. We're updating on financials. This will be the 3rd time now that we're doing our comprehensive quarterly report. And finally, Yucca Mountain.
Oh.
We got a request from Nye County Commissioner, that we discuss Yucca Mountain, and so we will be talking about that.
Okay, wow. That's a very busy agenda. And, we just have a little bit of time left. I thought maybe we could plug a new item that we're going to be starting soon. This will be on the county's website.
Mm-hmm.
It's a QuickTime view of this same program. This program, of course, takes a half hour to discuss the Board of Commissioners meeting. But the QuickTime review is going to be like a 5-minute, in that range, update, much quicker one for people that are maybe just too busy to spend a half hour watching it.
Is that just going to be you talking?
Yeah.
Because keeping me to 5 minutes, you
and
may
talking real fast.
Yeah, real fast. Yeah.
But no, it'll be the 2 of us. And in fact, after this program, we're going to do our first one.
Right.
And we'll be posting that on the internet. So look for it if you want to get a quick synopsis of what happened at the Douglas County Board of Commissioners meeting. Just one more way Douglas County is keeping you informed.
Yeah, and as you say, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, we're doing everything we can to communicate with people and get information out. And we understand that it's hard for people to sit and watch a 30-minute video. And so if you want just a real quick 5 minutes or less of what happened at the board meeting, we're going to provide that to people, and hopefully you find it valuable. And you can always catch this 30-minute video then on our YouTube page as well if you want
Right.
to see the more in-depth version of it.
Okay.
Which I'm sure you watch
Oh, yeah.
to get informed, and your family.
It's on a loop at the house.
Right,
It
yeah.
plays all the time.
Right.
Anyway, I think it's time to wrap it up. I'm getting
Okay.
I'm getting punchy here.
Yeah.
But I want
Great
to
to be
thank
with you.
I want to thank you, Steve, for being here on the County Manager's Report. I'm Lloyd Higuera, and we'll see you next time on the County Manager's Report.